Yeah, but you can't necessarily blame them because they've just not been. They might have gone through their whole life without being exposed to the type of information we might have got exposed to just off an off chance. Whilst we were, what, 10, 11 years old, we might, on the off chance, have off chance come across a video which didn't exactly, I wouldn't say it awakened us, but it might have just tempted our curiosity a little bit. And I think having something like that early on puts your mind in a completely different zone where, as you progress through life, you start questioning things, even if it's a little tiny bit to begin with. And then you'll start seeing things from a different angle. And as things roll out, as the elites start making the decisions that they're making, you start looking at the other side of it. But a lot of people don't look at the other side of it, and they go on, like we're talking about going on tangents, they go down a completely different tangent of fame is the way to go. And you can't blame them because that's the way society's been built. That's the way the culture is set up, definitely in the Western world, that you need to be the predominant figure and this is how you need to do it.
And they give us these idols in order to, again, like, maintain this artificial control over society. You know, if they can control what people are looking up to, they can mitigate, where society, what direction it's going. I think the biggest thing that they have going against them is the human ingenuity, this curiosity, this soul component that exists within all of us. Yes, they can dampen it. Yes, they can kind of make you forget that that is a part of you. But ultimately, every single human being has a soul. And when they're shown another soul, their soul lights up. When you're shown a person who's depressed, who's on, all sorts of pharmaceuticals, who's being, put on a stage to made to sing, and they're doing it well because they've done it a million times and they do it, with all their heart, but really there's something phony behind it because they've done it, 100 times in a month, and they're not doing it the same way they would if it was really coming from their soul. I think that over time has replaced what we used to know. Like in a small community, in a small town, let's say without television, without access to the rest of the world, there are people who naturally find a musical talent. There are people who naturally become the comedian of their little community. They make people laugh. They bring joy to people's day. We've manufactured and artificialized that by, creating these stages and lights and, all these big spectacles. And there's something very unhuman about that has a residual effect on the rest of us. I think that's on purpose. Naturally, we all have these kind of inner talents. And I don't think necessarily like entertainment is even like, it's sort of like a silly thing because it's like taking something that is so natural and a part of just like normal human life, and it's almost like putting too much attention on it to the point where it becomes like this egotistical thing, like, oh yes, I'm so genius that I make everyone so entertained. Like, no, I think entertainment was more of like, in the past, was a way for people to bond. It was a way for people to get to know each other in their small community and to relate to one another. And now that this mechanism has been shifted into this kind of global stage, we're kind of, it's less relatable. I don't know, maybe that'll change and things will become more authentic, but we're definitely in like an inauthentic dichotomy right now as far as entertainment goes. Like, and that's why social media, podcasting, and like that kind of like person to person content is doing so much better now because it's the most authentic thing around. Person to person content, people making their own stuff on YouTube, on a podcast. This is becoming an extreme problem for the legacy media because they can't compete. They can't compete with the average person who, can come up with something interesting in 2 hours and publish it in the next hour. Like that's as simple as it is. In the past, it would have taken like, a whole room of people writing some crap, and then another guy has to approve it, and then they got to film it, record it, whatever. So yeah, I think we're heading towards good times, and the better the future looks, the darker they're going to show us the future, because they don't want us to see the bright future ahead of us. They want us to kind of create this chaos by getting ahead of our own abilities to manifest. It's like I was saying earlier, we have everything in us, that that soul component in us. There's like nothing that needs to be added to that. I think human beings are born perfect, and we've been kind of entrained by our society to devolve after birth. That might sound a little hippie, but it definitely feels that way. Yeah.
I won't say it sounds hippie. To me, it sounds like, this might sound a bit, I don't know what you would call it, but it sounds like something I needed to hear right now, just because of the journey I've been on with Aaron, with the channel. Stuff does look dark, and you saying they want it to look dark isn't something I necessarily. I would say I knew it in a sense, but I never really put my finger on it.
Yeah, it's something that I think I knew, but I never really thought about. Once you said it, it sort of like hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
So that definitely sparked something in me, because that's why things are looking cloudy, and it's not because things are cloudy, because they're not. Because, like you said, authenticity is just around the corner and it is coming back.
Well, and also, we have this incredible power as a collective consciousness on the planet to create and manifest a future that we want. And the way that they get ahead of that is by adding, negative potentialities to the mix. And that's what the news is all the time. The news is constant negative potentialities. Hey, this just happened. This awful crime just happened in this neighborhood. What's the immediate thing that you think? You don't think, oh God, thank goodness I wasn't there. Thank goodness for the people who didn't get hurt that were there. You think, oh, that's going to happen in my neighborhood, or I'm not going to go to that neighborhood anymore because that could happen again. Like, it's all about creating these negative potentialities in people. And really, I think what we need is like maybe more of a conclusive information. Like, and I don't even think the news is even important. Like, I wonder, like, now with apps and stuff, how like media is going to change, because now people have the potential to get really only information that matters to them, whereas in the past it was kind of like, here's the news, like sit here and wait until one of these stories is relevant to you. Like you sit there and like, oh, they're talking about my hometown, but now like you can have an app that gives you only news from your hometown, or even like your little block if you're in a big enough city, right? So I think all of that is going to slowly get replaced by something more authentic, and it's just a matter of time. And now that we're kind of in this person to person world, it's just going to take people kind of coming up with those ideas and innovating to create a more like human oriented world. Because I think right now we're living in like a kind of government oriented world, or group oriented world. Like the world is oriented towards whichever group has the biggest and baddest weapons, and the information age has to smash that, because like I can't shoot you right now. Like obviously I wouldn't want to. You guys are my friends, but like over the computer, I can't reach through and punch you. I mean, maybe if I was like digitally savvy, I could like hack you or something. But I think we're reaching a point where like those traditional means of coercion and force are just not going to apply as much, because we have this digital separation. We have this imperative for authenticity. And we also have a record now. Like I can't go and just like knock someone over the head unless I find a place where there's no street cameras, right? I mean, in some cities, that's the reality now. Other cities, not so much. You to watch yourself, you might get knocked out, or what, even worse. But yeah, I think that, and I'm not like advocating for a surveillance state or anything, but I think that this is like the balance that we're heading towards. And hopefully we reach a situation where those groups like Skull and Bones and the Bilderbergers become essentially unnecessary or ineffective, because the dynamics of society have changed to the point where a secret society or a group working with a sort of conspiratorial goal couldn't operate. I think that's a possibility. It might sound a little, far-fetched from where we are today, but I think that's like how evolution works. Not Darwin's evolution, but like organic, natural evolution, the kind of evolution that you can observe in nature. Animals adapt and grow and change, and everything around them adapts and grows and changes, right? Just at a different pace. Humans possibly do it at the fastest pace. There might be smaller organisms that do it faster, but on our scale, we're probably like the most fast when it comes to adapting and changing, right? A hummingbird or a squirrel maybe takes 2,000-3,000 years to adapt to a change that it only takes us 5 years, maybe. Maybe not physiologically speaking, but like mentally, physically, emotionally, we are adaptive, and that can't be stripped from us. As much as we want to watch these like movies like The Matrix and all this stuff that shows us like an Orwellian sort of nightmarish future, I don't know if that's even possible, because every single person would have to co-sign that in order for that kind of reality to be created. There will always be some tribe that doesn't play ball. There's always going to be some remote island where the news just didn't reach them. And I think that works to humanity's benefit. And it's kind of like the 99th monkey effect. They observed it in Japan, where the snow monkeys on one remote island learned about the hot springs. And after one group of monkeys learned that you can swim in these hot springs during the winter and it's not going to like burn you or whatever, and it's pretty comfortable, on other islands where monkeys had no contact, like these groups of monkeys were separated. There was no like, oh, one monkey kind of makes his way to the other islands. They were separated, and they all instinctively, almost like a genetic informational download, at the same time, within the same time period, we're like, okay, we're going in the hot springs. After only one group of monkeys figured that out. So what does that say about humans? If that can be observed in populations of, monkeys, why can't humans operate under that same dynamic? I think humans do operate under that same conscious dynamic, genetically and mimetically, where we all kind of get these downloads simultaneously. Not like one nation can be like isolated and like advance so far ahead of the rest of us, because we're all genetically, electronically, that's not the right word, informationally, like light, like information that's not even physical. It's so conscious. It's on the conscious realm, and it's like once it exists everywhere. Like when you turn a light on in the room, there's no more darkness. It's not like there's one little corner of darkness in the top ceiling where the light bulb doesn't reach to. No, everything gets spread out evenly when you turn the light on. And it might be a little dark in some parts of the place, but it's an even spread. And I think that's how information works. And it's been demonstrated with that 99th monkey. I don't know if that was an experiment or it's just something scientists observed,